to a Monster-Mania guest list really put us on the map. We knew we were really successful with our first show, and we knew that the crowds were going to grow, and we wanted to really move to a location that would fit us. And at the time when we first were given an offer here, when we walked the halls, and this was so much bigger than the first place we were at, we were like, wow, how are we ever going to fill this? And fortunately, I spoke with his agent back in, 2004, and when we were lucky enough to get him to come, it just really made our name, and we've been honored to have him back almost, year after year. So please welcome film icon, Robert Englund.
It's happy hour somewhere. Dave, I think I have your penis.
That's yours. Yeah, that's yours. I've got my own, Robert, thank you. One thing I will say, here's some of the things you don't see that happen behind the scenes. I got a call, I guess it was Thursday morning, telling me that the flight that Robert Englund was on was, at first I was told it was going to be delayed, then because of mechanical failure, then I was told the flight was going to be canceled. This is how I wake up the day that we're getting ready to set up the show and the stars are coming in. And you get this message that Robert Englund's flight is delayed, and then maybe half an hour after that I got the message that his flight was canceled. The only seats that were available, we had booked first class flights for him. It's a 6-hour flight, and his wife Nancy. And I'm like, and there's no first class flights to be had coming into Philadelphia. So, that's a promoter's nightmare. To this man's credit, he gets on a coach flight. I don't even want to know what row they put you in.
This doesn't matter. Lance Hendrickson sent me drinks. Lance was in 1C and took care of me.
So much to his credit, many other stars would have just said, oh, sorry Dave, I can't make the show. Robert's here.
No, I go, but you got no. Guys, first of all, this has nothing to do with Dave. He can't control weather or maintenance or planes. And the other thing is, Nance and I always want to get here early. Nancy, on my advice today, got to go to one of the best museums in Philly, right across the bridge, that I went to 100 years ago when I was a stage actor. And we love it. We love coming here. We have so many recurring fans, and we've all aged together. But we also, I'm a fanboy too, and we've also seen the dealers and the collections and the contributions from the internet get wider and richer. And this is a great show because you never can read the fans here. There might be 4 really attractive couples in line, and I'll need a frame of reference for a Sam Peckinpah movie. And there'll be a guy in line with a bone in his nose and more piercing than Dee Snider. And he will tell me the entire cast of that 1959 Sam Peckinpah movie that I consider an echo of Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And I'm trying to make some point about my own career in the 70s and Mark Hamill or something like that. And there's a guy that can do that. That's what I love about Monster-Mania, is beyond the genres, beyond the darkness and the wide spectrum here, is you guys love movies.
Okay, so what we'll do, if you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll call on you. If you would, please stand up and make your question loud, and I'll try to repeat it, and we'll go from there. Right here.
Hey, Robert. I just want to know if today's horror, who are you a fan of?
Okay, so the question was...
Well, I haven't seen it.
Never mind.
I haven't seen this film, and it sounds to me like a great American summer film, and it was directed by Alexander Aja, who did High Tension, a great film with a phenomenal cast that still hasn't been completely exploited or discovered yet, called Horns, with Daniel Radcliffe. Great people. But anyway, Alexander Aja has a cheap thrill, hardcore, great summer movie out that was number 5 out of the top 10 for 3 or 4 weeks, called Crawl. And this, and Barry Pepper, I love this actor, Barry Pepper. And apparently, it's just like the perfect drive-in movie, or the perfect summer movie, you know, cold pizza and warm beer, and thou.
Okay, right here.
What was the reaction the first time I saw what? Oh, well, you guys, we could talk about this all night. We could have a seminar on this. We could get Clyde Barker and Doug Bradley talking intellectually about this. Here's the thing about the glove. The manifestation of the claw, the hand of power that gives Freddy some identity. This is God. The bone claw with the extended knife fingers from part 7, Wes Craven's New Nightmare, was originally depicted in the Italian movie poster for Nightmare on Elm Street Part 1 as a kind of puppet master, bony claw, pulling and pulling Nancy up, and she was floating in air. This is the original Italian Nightmare on Elm Street 1 poster. Now, in reprints and remakes of Nightmare 1 posters and other posters and video covers, they added that bony claw thing in it. But here's the question. So, the guy that did that great bone claw for Nightmare 7, Wes Craven's New Nightmare, in 1994 going on 1995, did he see the Italian poster out of Rome from 1984? Where did he get that idea? Because when you see it on the old posters, those are reprints, those are new, they're not really old, they're not really from 1984, they're from 1990 or 1995 or something. And they've already seen the Italian poster by then. But did that guy in Italy, did he see the future? He's the guy that did it first. So that's always been a question that plagues me about the design, because that bone marrow claw with the knives coming out of the calcium of the bones and the phalanges, that was only done in '84 by some Italian illustrator on the original Italian poster. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right there in the back.
Andrew Dice Clay. Hey. Hey. You know, here's the tragedy, but I'm going to tell the whole story now. I don't want to get in trouble, you guys. Don't get me in trouble on the internet. So, Andrew Dice Clay and I got in a fight once in the parking lot of Chalet Gourmet on Sunset Boulevard in California at this fabulous con. We have an unbelievable guest, Beverly D'Angelo. Oh my God, oh, be still my heart. On Christmas Eve, many years ago, Beverly helped me buy gourmet food for a party I was throwing. And the girl that I invited, that I was trying to impress, was Mariska Hargitay. Oh. And the only people on December 23rd in this gourmet market, and I thought I'd arrived. I'm in a gourmet market, and I'm shopping with Beverly D'Angelo. And Beverly's grocery cart was stacked this high. I don't know what party she was throwing, but I was certainly not invited. But she helped me buy cool cocktail crackers and cheese and things like that for my party, because I was obviously didn't know what the hell I was doing. At any rate, and your question was, just help me? Stop, what?
What was it like working with Best Play?
So, in that parking lot, that night, Andrew opened his car door and bumped my car. I didn't care, I had a piece of shit beater. But Andrew had a nice car and he yelled at me because he opened his car door. Years later, I do Ford Fairlane, right? And it's the most insane cast in the history of American cinema. Vince O'Neill, Priscilla Presley, Ed O'Neill, Gilbert fucking Gottfried. Everybody's in this crazy movie. And I'm hanging out in the Capitol Records building in Hollywood, in the recording studio that recorded all of the Beatles albums done by Capitol, and Frank Sinatra with the Nelson Riddle Orchestra, and I'm sitting next to Wayne, the Lounge Lizard Newton, and he's got Jimi Hendrix's left-hand Stratocaster, and he can play it, and he loves rock and roll, and he was Elvis Presley's best friend in Las Vegas, and he's protecting Priscilla. That's my Ford Fairlane story. By the way, I replaced Billy Idol in that movie. He dropped a Harley Davidson in Laurel Canyon, broke his wrist, couldn't tour. I got the part.
So one question I have, Robert, your lovely wife Nancy is over there. How did you first meet Nancy?
Nancy was my set decorator on the first movie I directed, and I'd already scouted, LA's huge, you guys. You guys are East Coast, West Coast. We're not as cool as you guys, but we're bigger. And like you guys can hit, we're in the tri-state area. But in LA, there's no such thing where we live. You're in the tri-county area, if you're lucky. And Nancy, I had already scored my locations. And Nancy had an old gold Jeep, and she would wear green military, oversized wife beaters. And I got a little side boob, And I would make her drive to locations I already had. Because I'd sit in the back seat, with my bottle of water and just look at her side boob, because I just wanted to be around her. And a little while later, in a famous bar that's in Once Upon a Time in America, the new Tarantino film, we kissed in the alley. And I'm not a kid anymore. And it was like that teenage kiss. My knees almost buckled, and I've been around the block by now, right? And I knew this was it, but I also knew I didn't have I was running on empty with love, and there was a great sentimental, old romantic comedy in the movie theaters that year that I had seen called. It was with Sally Field. And I'm trying to, and James Garner, Rockford Files. And James Garner, it's a May December relationship, and James Garner says to Sally Field, I'm in love for the last time. I'm a thief. I'm the thief of Baghdad. So I turned to Nancy and I leaned up as cool as I could in the parking lot of this cool bar after this kiss, because I had to, not because I'm being cool, because I was afraid my knees were going to buckle. Because I just had the best soft kiss of my life. I felt like a 14-year-old boy, and I said, I think I'm in love for the last time of my life. And she looked at me for a long time, and she said, well, clean up your baggage and we'll talk.
Robert, how does it feel to be the living heir to the likes of Lon Chaney, Boris Karloff, and Bela Lugosi in American pop culture?
You guys, I am not.
You are not.
I'm not in the same room with Karloff. I'm not in the same room with Lon Chaney. I don't even think I'm in the same room with Vincent Price, but I do have my foot in the door. And history and movies, and here's the thing. I'm very beloved and lucky because I was able, or my performances were able, to influence the video and DVD generation. And you guys are pretty young here, but what a lot of you need to remember is when you were kids, you might have gone to a Blockbuster or a mom and pop video store with a mom or a dad or a cool stepfather or a shitty stepfather, I don't know. And you were allowed to pick a movie. Not everybody went out on Friday and Saturday night. And you were allowed to, mom and dad would pick a movie, Pretty Woman, and you were allowed to pick a movie, Nightmare 3. Nightmare 5, whatever. And you'd already seen the other ones, and you would screen it. And here's the thing. We were getting a lot of grief for being violent and subversive. But in a strange way, the video revolution, with that Afghan blanket on the back of the couch, some cold pizza slices on the coffee table, some warm beer, dad, mom, your kid brother, your kid sister, your older brother, Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3 on that big Sony color TV on a Friday night or a Saturday night, on a rainy night in summer or a crappy winter night, and you shared it as a family. So this is the strange gift that I received, being an actor in a movie at a time when the technology was changing. Then I got another generation of people watching, you know, the techno guys watch, oh, we have to watch this movie on Blu-ray, digitally remastered.
Widescreen.
And a little yogurt and a shot of tequila. So it just metamorphosized for me over the years. And I got different generations. But this is an accident of the time, a happy accident of the culture, but it's something that I've learned in the last 10 years. This great thing that these movies that I thought were controversial and violent and were going to hurt my career actually turned out to be, in a strange way, one of the great video DVD generation family shared experiences on so many different crazy levels. The American family, we all know, whether it's divorce or stepdads or death or big families, whatever. I got to be part of that. I got to be this component of entertainment. And it's just a great gift and a blessing to my career. And the same thing happens simultaneously all around the world for me. So when my pilot doesn't sell in LA, I go off to Spain and I chase a girl around a castle.
I thought the episode that you did recently on the Goldbergs really played that, or, you know, really emphasized how what you just described was, you know, was the standard.
I realized when I said yes to the Goldbergs, it's because of what I just described to you, because I had learned what I just described to you. They wrote me a beautiful letter, but I'll tell you the real reason. I got to hang out and work with Wendy. And Wendy is maybe the funniest, one of the top 3 funniest women on American television. And if you watch her in Bridesmaids, and you watch her, what's the cop show she did? Reno. My God, she is funny. She's just the real thing. She's the real thing. And when she ran down the hall in Goldberg's, and she improvised, oh no, in her Jewish mother voice, Mr. Knifey Fingers. Oh my God, what am I gonna do? Mr. Knifey Fingers. I broke up. I had to like bite my cheek, you know, to keep from laughing. But at the end of my segment, my last segment, they cut this out. She runs down the hall and you hear her voice trailing in the distance and she's complaining. Oh, what's the matter with his skin? Jesus, what's he eat? Oh my God. And she's running down the hall. And I look at her and I go, hey, hey! And she doesn't turn around. And I turn to the camera and I go, that's some kind of primetime bitch. And the running joke was, they would blip the dirty words. They'd cut that out. Oh.
So what did it feel like to put the makeup on another time?
Pardon? Well, he's not here this year, but he's been around. He's in Atlanta now. Bob Kurtzman, who did me on many movies. He was assisting Kevin Yeager. He was with K&B, and you guys know K&B. K is Kurtzman, N is Nicotero. He's down in Atlanta doing a little movie called Walking Dead. I mean, a little TV show called Walking Dead. And Steven's here and a bunch of other people from Walking Dead. That's Nicotero. Berger, the beat in K&B, won the Oscar for Chronicles of Narnia. These guys were the heavy metal, punk, all dressed in black guys that came on after David Miller and Kevin Yeager to help them and took care of me for like 3, 4, 5, and 6. They were always there taking care of me. And then I did Wishmaster for Kurtzman. And so Bob and I did a big makeup in Chicago because we wanted to help send some of that money that we made to saving the movie theaters in Chicago, especially the old drive-ins, where right now, this weekend, there's a double bill of Exorcist and Crawl. Anyway, at the drive-in, outside of Chicago, Midway, that's the second airport after O'Hare, suburban Chicago. Is that Hillary Clinton? No. But I mean, that's the neighborhood. And so Kurtzman now is back in Atlanta with a beautiful studio, Bob. And he took care of me. He had done me. And there's a word called bedside manner. And that's a word you use about a really good doctor that knows how to talk to you and treat you and take care of you in the hospital. We use that, actors, we use that about special effects makeup. Some guys are so good and gentle and kind to you, and they bring you a beer at the end of the day when you're getting your makeup torn off or whatever. They know how to take care of you. And Kurtzman is that guy. He's really that guy. So he was the guy that came to do me. We flew him out he's doing The Haunting of Hill House now. We flew him out and he took care of me so that I could do that show. But there's only so many people that can do my makeup right. And they all, some of them have Oscars, some of them are retired and they're rich. They've married beautiful women from Seventh Heaven. Other people, are like doing consulting work now, or they have the #1 show in the world, Walking Dead. I can't call Nicotero up and say, hey, do you want to come put Freddy makeup on for me in New Jersey? I can't do that. We couldn't afford it. And that's why I can't do it. Kane's got the Jason underwear on. Right now, you can kiss him in the lobby. Where is he? No, I'm teasing. But what I'm saying is I'm difficult. And you have to light me right. So, but putting the makeup back on for that, it was a little strange. And we had some time elements. And we were worried about TV lighting. But most of it worked.
But I mean,
and it was a kiss. It was a kiss to fans of the 80s.
Is there any chance?
Guys, this is the oldest dog in the room. Woof. I've got a great new show now, and I love it. I haven't done it yet. They keep pushing me, but I'm hosting. They hired Bill Shatner for one, and they hired me for one. Mine is called True Terror with Robert Englund. Travel Channel. It's going to be good. And I love doing something like that, which is lucrative, because then I can say yes to a low-budget horror movie by Alexander Aja in Spain, or I can go off and do a low-budget horror movie in London, or I can show up in the Midwest and do a low-budget horror movie there that might work out and turn out good, because the genre's been good to me. Here's the thing with Nightmare on Elm Street. They want to reboot the franchise. And I understand that. I'm a Hollywood kid. Guys, that's what they do.
They did. Christopher Lee was Dracula.
This is what they do. And you guys have to understand something. Your grandparents, all the movies they saw were remakes of silent movies. There's only so many stories that go around. And the Nightmare on Elm Street stories are great, but we need a Freddy that can do the next 8 movies, or 7. I don't want them to remake part 1 again. They've already we did the classic, and then they did the reboot, and now they need to move on. And I think there's a really interesting part 2, because we're in modern, contemporary, we're in woke times now. And I think a great Nightmare 2 where Freddy plays with the bisexual boy, I think that's a great idea. And we push it a little bit. And what's the biggest hit of all? Nightmare 3, Dream Warriors. Made more money than the rest of them. Nightmare 3, I would love to be invited back to play the therapist for the collective group therapy session where they all are having the same nightmare. The old wise doctor who says, no, I don't believe there's such a thing as a collective nightmare. I'm not having any of that shit. I would love, because there's a trope, an ingredient in remakes where the cameo is allowed of the old star, and that would be me. But I'm not Freddy anymore, you guys. I could do one more, probably, if you guys held my ankles down. If you put yogurt up my butt. If you shot me up with vitamin C. But here's the thing, I can't do 8 more, you guys. So we need a new actor that you guys believe in and trust and love that can go the distance. Now, he's not a kid anymore either. The rumor I've heard that I like is Kevin Bacon. Kevin loves horror. He's a real actor. He's a character actor. He happens to be handsome and cute and sexy and physical, but his talent is really a character actor. Watch him on City on the Hill if you don't believe me. Right now, HBO. Here's the thing. Kevin was great in Tremors. Kevin was great in Stir of Echoes. And I've heard this rumor. He's maybe a half an inch taller than me. He's got better abs than I have. I've got no abs. I've got French fries from the Crown Plaza. But we need someone like that to take it on and redo it. And redo it exploiting all of the new technology. You guys, Inception. The Robin Williams movie, When Dreams May Come. Those effects today, 2019, are even more remarkable. What they did with Inception and what they did with the Robin Williams film, they can do those effects even more mind-blowing, but they lend themselves to the landscape of the mind, the dreamscape, the nightmare, the dream. And I'm hoping that they will exploit that and then cast it right. And I think it's okay for a new generation. We're not getting any younger, and there's a new generation can deserve this. They should take their time. But I think they should probably start with Dream Warriors. Maybe a double bill of 3 and 4. Because they can combine with the same cast. Maybe a 2.5-hour movie where you combine Dream Warriors in part 4 with that melting cast. That might be really interesting to do. And then do a standalone part 2. Star Wars can do it, so could we. Go back and really play around with the gender that's really the subtext. that Freddy's messing with in part 2. And then go on and do a really great, crazy part 5, and a crazy part 6 using all, let's say it's like 2025 now, and just do a crazy, crazy cultural lift from then, and do part 6, but instead of being Roseanne Barr and power gloves and all that shit, it's whatever's happening then. And then do a part 7 and make it all the people that you know. Kevin Bacon is Kevin Bacon, he's the Freddy. People that you know by then, the other actors, and make them all twisted and crazy in 2028. Ooh. With another earthquake in LA.
Okay, question on the side here, standing up. Person behind you.
Were there any character directions or lines for Freddy Krueger that you shot down?
No, you guys have to understand something. You should IMDb the writers, like Brian Hegeland, the writers that worked on the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. These guys are great. They're all stars now. They have Oscars, hit movies that you all love. No, the only lines that were mine were "Welcome to Primetime, bitch." That was an awkward line. It was something like, "Gee, Jennifer, now you're in the big time." That didn't sound like Freddy. And then I had a line that I loved, that I kind of dressed up a little bit in Freddy vs. Jason, which was, "Don't worry, princess, the first time tends to get a little messy." Which has a lot of meaning. But everything else was written down exactly as you see it. You know, Wes is an auteur. Wes Craven wrote 1 and 3 and 7. And Wes is writer-director. And you're really in good hands with that. And Wes never was too protective of his work. If you couldn't make a scene work, he'd fix it for Heather Langenkamp, Nancy, or he'd fix it for me. You know, the first laptop I ever saw in my life was on the set of Nightmare 7. Wes had it right on and he would just fix anything right then and there. But that's a rare thing. You know, in France and some other countries, they really respect the writer-director. But in America, there's a separation, because our directors are so great with camera, and they're so great with lighting, but they don't necessarily have that skill set for words. And they know effects, they know other stuff, and they're great, and you surrender to them. But the guy that can write and direct is the guy that is the master.
The person that was before that.
Okay, part 1. Who really won that fight between Freddy and Jason?
Oh, well, it's real simple. It's real simple. Jason kicked my ass up between my shoulder blades, right? Cut my head off, took a crap down my neck hole, raped me, tattooed me, pissed in my eyes, but if that cocksucker ever falls asleep again, I've got him.
Question here.
He wants to know about my creative freedom, right? No, there's a moment in time on the Nightmare movies where I knew more than the director about Freddy. It's a moment of time, and it's a strange acknowledgement. My best performance as Freddy is part 4, because Rennie Harlan left me alone. But I'm dead meat, I'm exhausted when I did that movie, because I just did another movie, and then I did that. But Rennie left me alone. Physically, timing, that's my, and the makeup, that's my favorite performance. It's not my favorite movie. Some people call that the MTV Freddy, the MTV Nightmare. It's a great movie, Nightmare 4, but it's not my favorite. But that's the best acting. It's a collaboration. In movies, and it's real hard if you come from the theater. In movies, the editor is God. We'll never know the truth of any movie you love. If I got Clive back in here right now, Clive Barker, if George Romero was here, they would admit, I could get them drunk and make them admit. Now listen to me, that in the shitty, dark, little tiny room where you edit a movie, and all of our tan goes away, and our skin color, and we have circles under our eyes because we eat a lot of fast food, and we work 10 hours a day, looking at the same shit over and over and over again. That somewhere in there, the editor becomes God. He actually gives us an idea. It's like, you guys know 3-Card Monte, the street game? The editor shuffles time. Film is all about time, the manipulation of time. And editors, God love them, they really are the geniuses behind movies. Directors are great, cameramen are great, movie stars are great, music scores by John Williams are great, but it's the sequence and the cuts and the way they play with time and interrupt our time and stretch our time. These editors are the real artists, the #1 artists, and they really are the gods of Hollywood. V, I still had hair. Wait a minute. What do you want to ask, biatch? Anything about V? Well, here's the thing about V. There's a million things about V. Hanging out with Michael Ironside, but here's the thing about V. It made me international. And you guys, this is like, they don't teach this in school. Like you, we all went to junior high and high school and maybe some of us college or commuter college or junior college or university. But here's the thing. No one tells you life's not fair, right? And no one tells you when you're an actor or you're in acting class, no one ever tells you that clicking internationally is important. You guys, I can do a pilot tomorrow that I love. It could be great, and it doesn't sell. And I get a job in Italy, and I go to Italy, and my wife and I live in Rome and chase some beautiful girl, like I said earlier, a beautiful girl around the castle, you know, and I wear a dark turtleneck, you know, and cool sunglasses. To be international is the greatest blessing in the world. I was in Buenos Aires, Argentina, a couple of years ago with Nancy, and we get down there, and it's huge. We're in a movie studio, and we're drinking Malbec, the great red wine that comes from Argentina. We're looking for cool restaurants. That's what Nancy and I want to do. But we're there, and while we're there, in the tip of Argentina, money, they have money. And there's also extreme poverty. But they are obsessed with Japanese horror. They know more about Japanese horror than you guys do. It's unbelievable how that stuff just hits certain cultures differently. You never know it, you can never guess it, you can never anticipate it. But it's this wonderful thing to see about how small our world is. To know that Latin America now has a middle class, like India has a middle class now. And they have Camrys and Toyotas and they can drive to work instead of taking that bus you've seen in stereotype movies. But they like, Latin Americans love Japanese horror. oh my God, they get it. They see it on a whole different level than we do. You know, girls in school, you know, rebelling and committing mass serial killer stuff. The Ring, all those movies, they love them. And you know, it's so, you think it's different, but then you study your history a little bit, you realize that Japanese boats got to Peru on the current, and there's Japanese pottery that goes back as far as the Incas in Peru, in caves that they found 5 years ago, and yet they love Japanese horror. They love our horror, and there's a whole new middle class there, and they want to talk about it. They want to ask us questions. Oh my God, I said that I like John Carpenter's The Thing. They went crazy. I was like, they love me even more for that than being Freddy. It's incredible. Because they're going through, they're a little behind, but they love it, and they're studying it, and they worship it. And this is just a great thing. This is like, the thing we all have to realize is, it's that stupid, horrible ride to Disneyland. It's a small, small world. But you can never figure out, you know, you might like Brian De Palma movies, or you might like William Friedkin movies, or you might like some new horror director. And there's probably a country in Latin America where there's people that you would get along with better than anybody in this room. It's that crazy now. That's what the world, that's the good news about the internet and about streaming and about access to stuff. That a little horror movie that we all love, or that let's say 30 people in this room loved 10 years ago, it's been discovered now by 300,000 people on the internet. Because it's there, it's available, it's for rent, $3, $2.99, you know. And this is the great thing that happens to our careers. When I say our, I mean actors. I might make a movie in 2011 that I'm really proud of, and it doesn't catch on. I have a movie I made in 2017 called The Last Showing with Finn Jones, Game of Thrones. He's the gay knight. Emily Barrington, the synth AI, power to the robot bitch on humans. And they're both so good in this movie, and I'm so good in this movie. But it had a terrible title. It was called The Last Showing. I told them to call it Midnight Movie, because it's the screening at the Suburban Mall in New Jersey. It's the midnight screening we all go to, and I'm the projectionist. And they lay me off. And to get my retirement money, I have to wear an orange vest and an orange hat and sell popcorn in the lobby. And I'm humiliated, and I have my revenge. Don't fuck with me.
Very good.
Here's the thing. I would love to lend my name to a project I believed in. You guys, I'm an old dog. And I love meeting fans that remember things I did 30, 40 years ago. I love getting on a train with a glass of white wine with my wife and going to a film festival in Venice or Milan in a first-class compartment that costs $80 for 2 people, and I go through some beautiful part of Italy. I love that now. I'm an old man, and I love that, and I get to meet those people, and I meet people I've always wanted to meet, directors, people like that. I could lend my name to that, and I would do script revisions, and I would certainly do a small or featured acting role. But I don't have the energy or the chops anymore to do really big parts. I just don't. I'm spoiled. And I'm not saying there's not one out there that I might do, but this great accident happened to me. I grew my beard early, and it went gray early. It used to have red in it. But here's the thing. Now I get to play the old poacher, the old scientist, the doctor, the professor, the guy that tells you the backstory about the curse in the mountains. And I get tons of dialogue, and they're great parts. And I do them in America, and I do them in Canada, and I do them in Europe. The thing is, had I stayed with who I was before Freddy, which was the best friend, the sidekick, the pal, those parts don't age well. They used to in the 30s and 40s and 50s. Walter Brennan, Arthur O'Connell, all these great parts, Ward Bond, they all sidekicked John Wayne and Jimmy Stewart and all the big stars back then. But those parts don't age well anymore with the new way we look at movies and what we want to see. So I had to say bye-bye to those roles. Even though if I had been in an earlier generation, I would have finessed right into those. The Happy Accident, because I love horror, because Wes Craven taught me to respect the horror, science fiction, and fantasy genre. Because I did that and I stuck with it, I get those roles now. I'm the old priest. And I get lots of dialogue, and they fly me to Rome, or they fly me to Toronto, or I shoot it in the South, in Atlanta. And I would never have got those roles had I not been loyal post-Freddy. So I'm very fortunate and very lucky. But that's sort of what I'm doing now. And I just don't have, because I love the travel that comes with my gig. Not everybody does. Ask Lance Hendrickson. He doesn't like flying to Europe. And Lance has a great movie coming out, directed by Viggo Mortensen. But Lance, Lance got to have that cigarette, So we're all trying to get Lance to relax because we want him to go to all the big festivals in Europe with his new movie that he stars in with Viggo. But it's like I've learned that lesson. I know how to do that now, and I love it. And you guys, let's just be honest, it's just fun. It's just fun. When you get to be my age, it's just fun to be welcomed into a village or a city in Italy or Spain or Germany or Sweden. It's a great gig. And Nancy loves it too. She gets to go shopping.
All right, we'll take one last question. Right here.
Well, the Phantom of the Opera is a love-hate experience. Dwight Little and I wanted to make an homage to Hammer Films. We love both. One of my great stories is I was in a drive-in movie, and I was on my way to second base with a girl. And I looked up at the screen, and Barbara Steele was in a S&M coffin. And she was sexy and luscious, and it was kind of more interesting than taking the girl's bra off that I was with. And that may make me creepy, or just real young at the time, 17 maybe, 16 probably. But I have that memory of the drive-in movie, of Vincent Price movies, of Roger Corman movies, of Hammer films. So we were trying to make a Hammer film with really saturated color. We transposed the Phantom of the Opera story from the Paris Opera to the London Opera in the time of Jack the Ripper. So that was what we were going for. The girl, the diva, the blonde, the diva from the opera, Stephanie was the star of the Vita on the West End. She originated the role. My leading lady, Jill Sholin, had just had a love affair in California on a movie called Babes in Toyland with a young unknown actor named Keanu Reeves. And after that, her heart was broken, And she did a little horror movie called Cutting Class with a young, gorgeous boy, unknown, named Brad Pitt. And he broke her heart. And she came to Hungary, to Budapest, with my wife and I, and Dwight Little and Jilly, beautiful Jill, who had to sing, was brokenhearted because of these two love affairs. But I can always say that I share a leading lady with Brad and Keanu.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to ask you, if you don't mind, Rob, just to stand up so they can take some pictures for you guys.